3 a.m. wedding, caught my husband with my best friend. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. Instead, I made sure their lives were ruined. I never imagined. In my own family's hotel suite, I'd see my husband with my college roommate in his arms, undoing her buttons, saying with a laugh, "Once she's dead set on transferring that building to me. We'll make it official." The moment the door opened, champagne lights bathed them. Like a perfectly staged drama. My husband, Calvin Gu. Jacket tossed on the couch, sleeves rolled up. One hand gripping Sophia Sue's waist. The other pinching her chin. Sophia pressed against his chest, makeup flawless. Lashes fluttering, a smug smile even playing on her lips. That smile froze the instant she saw me. Calvin turned, saw me at the door. No panic, no guilt. He didn't even let go. He frowned, annoyance clear in his voice. "What are you doing here?" I stayed silent, just watched him. Watched the man I spent $3 million to marry. Quit my job for. Cared for his bedridden mother for 2 years. Now, holding another woman, he had the nerve to ask why I was in my own family's hotel. Sophia panicked first. She pulled away from him. Took 2 steps back, eyes instantly welling up. Her voice was thin and soft, like she was the victim. "Serena. Calvin and it's nothing. I was just feeling down. Talking to him." I looked at her pitiful face. And almost laughed. "Sophia Sue, my roommate for 4 years. Too poor for tuition?" I covered it. "Couldn't find a job after graduation? I had my dad get her one. No money for her wedding? I gave $100,000 as a gift. And now, feeling down, she's talking to my husband. In a hotel suite, with her buttons undone." Calvin moved to shield Sophia. The move was practiced, rehearsed. He looked at me. His eyes utterly cold. Even condescending. "Serena, don't make a scene here. Sophia's not like you. She doesn't throw fits over nothing. Make a scene." Those 3 words, I've heard them for 2 years. Ever since the late nights started. Since his phone got a password. Since his warmth turned to indifference, then to annoyance. His favorite phrase. I took a deep breath, forcing back the sting in my eyes. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even raise my voice. I didn't cry, didn't make a scene, didn't even raise my voice. I just stared at him and asked, word by word, "Calvin Gu. What's your relationship with Sophia Sue?" He paused. Then he said something that completely crushed my heart. "Whatever relationship you think it is, that's what it is." Sophia Sue started to sniffle softly behind him. Her voice trembling with tears, "Serena, I'm sorry. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have come looking for Calvin. I really didn't know you'd misunderstand. Don't blame him. If you're going to blame anyone, blame me." She sounded so sincere, so aggrieved, as if I were the one. I looked at her and laughed. Breaking up someone else's relationship? "Sophia Sue, what are you crying for?" My voice was so calm. It even felt strange to me. "You're not the one who should be crying." She froze, tears hanging on her lashes. Her whole body rigid. Calvin immediately exploded. His voice cold as ice, "Serena Shin, that's enough. Sophia keeps defending you. What else do you want? Just look at yourself right now. How are you different from a shrew?" A shrew. Me, Serena Shin. The sole heir to the Shin group. Received the best education since childhood. Holds 2 master's degrees. Managed 3 companies. In his mouth, I'm a shrew. I lowered my head. Looked at the beige knit sweater I was wearing that he'd complained was too plain this morning before I left. I wore his forgotten slippers, my hair a mess. I left in a rush, no lipstick. Sophia Sue. Head to toe in the latest season's collection. That Bulgari necklace. Around her neck. I recognized it. Calvin bought it last month during those business trip days. It dawned on me. He'd complained I dressed poorly. Wasn't gentle enough, that I meddled too much. I tried to change, learned makeup, learned fashion, learned to cook, even softened my voice. On purpose. Turns out it wasn't that I wasn't good enough. He had someone else to please. I looked away, turned and walked out of the room. The hallway was carpeted thickly. My steps made no sound. It was so quiet, as if this world had nothing to do with me. From behind came Sophia's tearful voice, "Calvin. Go after her, quick. She's definitely misunderstood." Then Calvin's impatient reply. "Go after her? Let her cool off. She's been spoiled." I didn't stop walking. When I stepped into the elevator, I stared at my reflection in the mirror for a long time. The woman in the mirror was 28, with a pretty face. Eyes slightly red, but her back was ramrod straight. I suddenly remembered something. This morning, before Calvin left, he told me, "Tonight, I have to have dinner with an important client. Don't wait up." And Sophia Sue posted a story on social media this afternoon. A glass of wine, hotel night view. Caption, "Guess who's treating me?" I even commented, "Have fun." Looking back now, that post was probably meant for my eyes only. The elevator reached the lobby. I stepped out, and the manager saw me. Bowing respectfully, "Miss Shen." I gave a slight nod. I walked straight to the parking garage. Once I was inside my car, that's when I noticed my hands were trembling. It wasn't from fear. Not sadness, but fury at its limit. I'm Serena Shen, always got what I wanted. No one has ever dared to treat me this way. Not because my family is rich, but because I don't allow it. And yet, of all people, it was this man. The man I loved with all my heart for 3 years. Who played me for a fool for 2. I started the engine. I didn't go home. Instead, I drove straight to the headquarters of the Shen Group. At 9 p.m., the entire building was still lit up. The receptionist saw me and hurriedly stood up. "Good evening, President Shen." I nodded. I took the elevator to the penthouse office. My father was sitting on the sofa, drinking tea. Seeing me enter, he paused. "What brings you here at this hour? You look terrible. Did you have a fight with Calvin?" I didn't speak. I walked over and sat down across from him, picked up the teapot, poured myself a cup, and drank it in one gulp. "Dad." I set the cup down, my voice eerily calm. "I want a divorce from Calvin Gu." My father's teacup halted midair. He looked up at me. He didn't ask why. He just studied me for a long moment, then sighed. "It's long overdue." My nose stung. I almost lost it. Over the past 2 years, my dad had hinted more than once that this man was no good. But I always defended him. He said he loved me, was just busy. Seeing it with my own eyes, that I finally understood. My father's judgment is far sharper than mine. He cheated on me. My voice was hoarse. With Sophia Sue. My father's face darkened. He set his cup down. He was silent. "Serena Shen," he said gravely. Heavy voice, "How to handle this?" I paused. "I want him to leave with nothing." My father looked at me. A flicker of approval in his eyes. "Good," he nodded. "Your father will see this through." Leaving? It was almost 11 p.m. My phone showed over 20 missed calls, all from Calvin Gu. I didn't call back. I didn't block him. I just left it. At home, lights on. Calvin on the couch. Seeing me walk in, his expression shifted from anxious to dark. "Where have you been?" He stood up, his tone accusatory. "You didn't answer my calls, you ignored my texts. Do you have any idea how worried I was?" I changed my slippers, set my bag on the entryway console, and looked at him calmly. "Worried about what? That I'd do something drastic? Or that I'd cause a scene at your office?" His expression shifted, then settled back into that impatient look. "Serena, can you stop being so passive-aggressive?" Sophia was just down. And I was keeping her company. "Hotel Suite 4, company?" I asked, steady. "And does talking require unbuttoning your shirt?" He faltered, his gaze flickering, his voice dropping. "Don't jump to conclusions. It's completely innocent between us." I nodded, said nothing more, and turned to head for the bedroom. He probably didn't expect me to be so calm. He paused, then came after me, grabbing my wrist. Serena, what is it you actually want? I stopped walking, looked down at his hand gripping my wrist, then lifted my eyes to his. Calvin, I said softly. I'm giving you 3 days. Get your affairs in order. In 3 days, we'll talk divorce. His grip abruptly loosened. He stood there, frozen. Divorce? He repeated the word, his expression a complex mess. Shock, disbelief, and even something else I couldn't place. You're insane. You've lost your mind. His voice rose. You want a divorce over this little thing? Little thing? Checking into a hotel with another woman is a little thing to him. I didn't explain. I didn't argue. I just pulled my hand from his grasp, walked into the bedroom without looking back, and locked the door. The moment it clicked shut, I heard him curse loudly outside, followed by the sound of a teacup shattering. I leaned against the door, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath. From today, the Serena who groveled in the dirt for Calvin Gu is dead. Starting tomorrow, I'm going to make him understand what real regret feels like. I spent the entire night sorting through all the financial records from the last 2 years. Of the 3 properties under Calvin's name, 2 were bought by me in full before the marriage, in his name. Because he said a man without property has no standing, no face in business. I believed him. I put only his name on the deeds. The Porsche Cayenne he drives? A wedding gift from my father, registered in his name. The 30% stake in his company? Funded with my own dowry money, he's the legal representative. Even the villa he lives in now, the monthly mortgage payments, are deducted from my account. And his salary? He never gave it, said he needs cash for socializing. I understood, so I not only didn't ask him for money, I even sent him 20 grand monthly for spending. Looking back now, that 20,000 a month probably all went to Sophia Sue. As dawn was breaking, I took out my phone and opened my chat with Sophia Sue on WeChat. The last message was 3 days ago. She sent a selfie, asking if the dress looked good. I replied, it looks nice. Scrolled up. Screen full of her messages to me. Said her husband mistreated her, wants divorce. That she envied me for marrying a good man. At the time, I comforted her, said Calvin Gu only seems good. That he actually had plenty of flaws. Now, thinking about it, she probably wasn't coming to me to vent. She was fishing for Calvin's preferences. Closed chat. Opened my contacts, found a name. Lin Jiu. My college classmate. Now one of the best divorce attorneys in the city. The phone rang twice before it was picked up. Her voice was groggy. This early? Jiu. My voice was calm. I want a divorce. Silence on the other end for 3 seconds. Then, her voice snapped to full alertness. Who? Calvin Gu? He cheated? Do you have evidence? Yes. I paused. And not just one piece. Good. She was all business. I'm heading back to the firm today. Bring your materials over. I hung up, took a shower, changed my clothes. The me in the mirror had slightly puffy eyes, but the gaze was sharp. I chose a sharply tailored black blazer dress. Applied light makeup, let my hair down. Put on a bold red lipstick. Looking at myself in the mirror, I suddenly felt, this is Serena Shen. Not Mrs. Calvin Gu. Not Sophia Sue's best friend. Serena Shen of the Shen Group. When I walked out of the bedroom, Calvin Gu was still sitting on the living room sofa. Still in yesterday's clothes. Probably hadn't slept all night. The shattered teacup on the coffee table had been cleaned up. The ashtray was overflowing with cigarette butts. He saw me and froze. Probably because of how I was dressed today. So different from usual. For the past 2 years, to cater to his tastes, I always dressed soft and gentle. Wore light makeup, spoke softly. He liked women to be docile. So I sanded down my edges. But he never knew, deep down, I was never a docile person. Where are you going? He stood up. His tone probing. Out. I picked up my bag. Didn't spare him another glance. Serena. He stopped me. His voice was hoarse. What happened yesterday, it was my fault. I shouldn't have met with her alone. But this divorce thing. Calm down and think it over. Okay? I stopped and turned to look at him. He stood in the middle of the living room, shirt wrinkled. Dark circles under his eyes, looking haggard. This face. I loved it for 3 years. Every time he came home late from work, I'd make him a bowl of noodles, heart aching for him. But now, it just feels like a stranger's. Calvin, my voice was eerily calm. You don't need to apologize to me. You just need to figure out how you'll speak to me in 3 days. Behind me came the heavy sound of him collapsing onto the couch. At Lynn's law firm, she already had all the documents ready. I spread out the last 2 years of bank statements, property deed copies, and equity agreements in front of her. She went through them item by item, then looked up at me. Serena, do you have any idea how much all this is worth? How much? She held up a hand, fingers splayed. A rough estimate. At least 500 million. I was stunned for a moment. Not because the number was so huge, but because I'd never actually added it up. These past 2 years, what I gave Calvin was far more than money. It was my time, my feelings, my trust, my dignity. He cheated on you, and you still want to split assets with him? Lynn frowned. According to the law, marital assets are split 50-50, but most of this is premarital property. But because you put his name on it. I know, I cut her off. That's why I'm not going the normal route. She looked at me, her eyes lighting up. What are you thinking? I smiled, pulled a flash drive from my bag, and placed it on the desk. This has 2 years of hotel records, money transfers, screenshots of their chats, and yesterday's video. Lynn took the drive, plugged it in, scrolled for a bit. She looked up, shocked to awed. Serena, when did you start collecting this? 3 months ago. I leaned back. He'd passcoded his phone. So I started paying attention. She didn't ask why. I didn't confront him right away, just nodded. What's your endgame? Leave with nothing. He deserves not a cent of mine. She thought for a moment. It's possible. But he has to cooperate. If he doesn't, and we go to court, this evidence proves fault on his part. But for the premarital assets with his name on them, it'll still be tough to get it all back. I nodded. A plan was already forming in my mind. Don't worry, I stood up, grabbing my bag. I'll make him sign willingly. Leaving the firm, I headed straight to the Shin Group. My father had already mobilized the firm's top legal teams. 7 or 8 people were seated in the conference room, all top tier in the industry. I laid out the situation briefly. Everyone fell silent. Finally, my father's personal lawyer, Attorney Zhou, spoke up. Miss Shin, if we go the legal route, the best case scenario is recovering most of the premarital assets. But the 2 properties and the equity in his name, those will be contentious. I know, I nodded. That's why I'm not going the legal route. Everyone stared at me. I'm going to make him sign it himself, I said. Willingly. And leave with nothing. Attorney Zhou thought for a moment. And how? Do you plan to do that? I smiled but didn't answer. Some things lose their power if you say them out loud. By the time I got home, it was already evening. There were a few extra people in the living room. Calvin's mother, and his sister. His mom saw me come in and immediately stood up. A big, fake smile plastered on her face. Serena's back. Come, sit. I made you soup. A cold laugh echoed in my heart. Calvin's mother, Mrs. Wang, was the epitome of a petty, small-minded woman. Back when Calvin married me, she practically wanted to put me on a pedestal. Told everyone her son was so capable, marrying the Shin heiress. But these past 2 years, her attitude towards me has gotten worse. Complaining I can't have kids or run a household. She even had the nerve to say to my face once, with my son's qualifications, he could find anyone. Now that she's heard I want a divorce, she's starting to panic. His sister, Tina Gu, was lounging on the sofa, legs crossed, looking utterly annoyed. She didn't even stand up when she saw me. Well, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Look who's back. You want a divorce? Think this through. Where are you gonna find a man as good as him after you're divorced? I looked at her, said nothing, and walked over to sit on the sofa. Seeing me ignore her, Tina's face darkened even more. Serena, don't be ungrateful. My brother has been good to you. So you caught him. Is a meal worth this drama? Tina. Mrs. Wang shot her a sharp look, then turned back to me, that fake smile returning. Serena, don't listen to her nonsense. I know you've been wronged. That boy Calvin is just foolish. I've already given him a piece of my mind. He knows he messed up. Just give him another chance, okay? I picked up the soup bowl, took a sip, set it down, and looked at Mrs. Wang. Mom. I called her, my voice eerily calm. How long has Calvin been with Sophia Sue? Mrs. Wang's face instantly changed color. Her mouth opened, as if she wanted to say something, but the words died in her throat. That guilty look, it was exactly like Calvin's. And suddenly, I understood. She knew. All along. She always defended him and found fault with me. You pressured me for a baby to cover for him. Cece. Her voice trembled a little. Mom really didn't know. If Mom had known, if you had known, would you have told me? I cut her off, looking straight at her. She fell silent. Tina Gu snorted beside her. So what if my brother has another woman? Men, it's normal for them to play around a bit outside. You're infertile and won't let my brother remarry? That sentence felt like a knife, stabbing right into my heart. Not because I can't have a child, but because Tina Gu knows I had a miscarriage last year. Calvin was away on business. I went to the hospital alone. When I came back, he didn't even ask how I was. He just said, be more careful next time. And Mrs. Wang, after she found out, her first reaction wasn't to feel sorry for me. It was to say, can't even keep a child. What use are you? I took a deep breath, forcing the surging emotions down. Tina Gu. I looked at her. My voice wasn't loud, but every word was crystal clear. The house you live in. I bought it when your brother got married. The car you drive. I gave it to him for his birthday. Your son's international school? The 300,000 tuition every year? I pay for it. You're sitting here right now, spending my money, eating my food, and then telling me I deserve to be cheated on? Tina Gu's face flushed red, then turned pale. Her lips trembled a few times, but no words came out. Mrs. Wang quickly tried to smooth things over. Tina doesn't know how to talk. Don't take it to heart. We're all family. Let's talk this out properly. No need. I stood up. Calvin and I will handle our own business. I turned and went upstairs, leaving them. Calvin sat on the bed edge as I entered. He stood up. He had changed into clean clothes. His hair was combed, looking better than this morning. But the way he looked at me, it was different from before. Before, he always looked at me with a smug certainty. He thought he had me trapped. But now, there was a flicker of panic in his eyes. Serena, he began. His voice much softer than yesterday's. Let's talk. I sat down across from him, looking at him. Fine. Talk. He hesitated. I know you're angry. But this thing, it's really not what you think. Sophia, she's divorcing, upset, and needed to talk. I'd had a bit to drink, my head wasn't clear. So that's why, but nothing actually happened between us. Really. Listening to his pathetic excuse, I almost laughed. Nothing happened? I took my phone from my pocket, opened a photo, and shoved it in his face. Then what's this? The photo showed him and Sophia Sue together in a restaurant. He was putting food in her bowl. 3 months ago. That day, he told me he was on a business trip to Shanghai. His face changed. You investigated me? I didn't. I took my phone back. Sophia Sue posted it on her own social media. She just blocked you from seeing it. He was stunned. I continued. I've known about you and her for 3 months. During that time, you always said you were working late, but your car was parked outside Sophia Sue's apartment many times. You thought I didn't know? I knew every single time. So you? His voice was hoarse. Why didn't you say anything? Because I wanted to see how far you would actually go. I said calmly, as if of another. And you disappointed me. He was silent for a long time. Then he looked up, met my eyes, and said something that surprised me. Serena, I don't want a divorce. I looked at him, didn't answer immediately. He went on. I know I was wrong. Give me one more chance. I'll end it with Sophia. Be good to you. You can have anything you want. If you don't want to work, don't work. I'll take care of you. I've heard those 3 words for 3 years. But in these 3 years, who is really taking care of whom? I didn't expose him, just asked, and what about Sophia Sue? I'll end it with her, he said quickly. Today. I nodded. Okay. Then call her right now. On speakerphone. He hesitated. In those few seconds of hesitation, you're scared to end it, aren't you? He gritted his teeth, took out his phone, dialed Sophia Sue's number. Put it on speaker. The phone rang twice before she answered. Sophia's voice came through, tearful. Calvin. Are you okay? Did she give you a hard time? It's all my fault. I shouldn't have gone to find you. I shouldn't have put you in this position. Calvin glanced at me, spoke into the phone. Sophia, from now on, no more contact. Silence. Then Sophia's voice changed. From pitiful and fragile to a sharp, demanding tone. What did you say? I said. He repeated, his voice trembling slightly. We shouldn't contact each other anymore. Calvin. Sophia's voice became shrill. Last night. You told me you would divorce her and marry me. And today you're turning your back on me? Did she threaten you? Calvin's face turned ghostly white. He quickly hung up. He quickly hung up the phone. Looked up at me. I sat there, my face expressionless. Divorce and marry her. I repeated those words. My voice very soft. She's lying. He rushed to explain. I never said that, enough. I stood up, looking at him. Calvin Gu, you make me sick. His face completely fell. I left the room. Downstairs. Mrs. Wang and Tina Gu were still sitting in the living room. They stood up when they saw me come down. Serena, Mrs. Wang started, trying to say something. Mom, I cut her off. You and Tina should head home. Calvin and I need to handle this ourselves. She opened her mouth to argue, but one look at my face shut her up. She left, dragging Tina with her. After the living room fell silent, I sat alone, reviewing 2 years of accounts. Not the financial ones. The emotional ledger. When exactly did I start losing myself? It was probably 3 years ago, when Calvin told me, Serena, could you stop being so overbearing? I believed him. I thought I was the problem. I thought being softer, more gentle, would make him love me more. So I quit my job as vice president of the Shin Group. I became a full-time housewife. I learned to cook, to arrange flowers. I molded myself into his perfect trophy wife. But he never loved me. He loved the Shin family money. He loved the Shin Group's connections. He loved the prestige. That came with marrying the Shin heiress. I picked up my phone and sent a message. Attorney Zhou, draft me a divorce agreement. One condition. Calvin Gu leaves with nothing. Every single asset in his name reverts to the Shin Group. Also, run a deep dive on his company's books. Focus on his capital transactions in the last 2 years. Attorney Zhou replied. Received. The audit will take me about 3 days. 3 days. Perfect. For the next 2 days, I didn't speak a word to Calvin. I took the master bedroom, he the guest room. He tried to talk to me a few times. I ignored him every single time. Mrs. Wang came by twice. I shut the door in her face both times. On the 3rd evening, Attorney Zhou sent over a file. I opened it, and a smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth. Calvin's company had been hemorrhaging money for 2 years. But all his public financial reports showed profits. Because he'd been siphoning company funds to bail out his failed personal investment ventures. And every single one of those ventures was a money pit. He'd also taken out a 20 million loan in the company's name. Not a single cent of that money went into the corporate account. It was all transferred to a private account. The account holder's name? Sophia Sue. So not only was he embezzling, he was committing loan fraud. Either charge is enough to bury him. I saved the file securely. I reviewed the divorce agreement my lawyer drafted. The terms were crystal clear, all assets under Calvin Gu's name, including 2 properties, 1 car, and his 30% stake in the company, would be returned to the Shin Group. Shin Group will pay him $500,000. For an ordinary person, $500,000 is no small amount. But for someone accustomed to a life of luxury, it's not even pocket change. I printed the agreement, signed it, and placed it on the coffee table. Then, I texted Calvin Gu, tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'll be home. Let's discuss the divorce. Can't we not get divorced? I didn't respond. The next day at 10 sharp, Calvin Gu appeared in the living room. He was wearing a new outfit, his hair styled, and even he was wearing cologne. The way he looked at me held a deliberate tenderness, eerily reminiscent of how we were when we first got married. Serena. He walked over, reaching for my hand. I've been thinking a lot these past few days. I know I was wrong. Give me another chance. I promise, from now on, sit. I cut him off, pointing to the sofa opposite. Look at this first. I slid the divorce agreement to him. He froze. Picked up the agreement, flipping through page after page. When he reached the last page, his face had completely changed. Leave with nothing? He looked up at me. His voice trembled. You're insane. I'm perfectly sane. I leaned back. The agreement is clear. All assets in your name. Assets go to Shin Group. I'm giving you $500,000. $500,000? He stood up. Serena. Are you out of your damn mind? Do you even know how much those 2 properties are worth? And my shares in the company, your company? I interrupted him, my voice turning icy. Calvin Gu. The seed money for your company came from me. Your client list? A gift from my father. The books you messed up? That was all you. So tell me, what part of it is actually yours? He was speechless, cornered. He flushed red. I won't sign this. He slammed it down. If you want a divorce, fine. But I get my fair share. The law says split assets 50-50. You think I leave with nothing? I smiled. Are you sure? I'm sure. He spat through gritted teeth. Serena. Don't think your filthy money lets you do whatever you want. I'm not falling for your tricks. I reached into my bag. I pulled out Attorney Zhou's document for him. Then take a look at this first. He shot me a suspicious glance, picked up the file, and opened the first page. Then his face went from red to white, from white to ashen. This can't be. His hands began to shake. Where did you get this? What do you think? I watched him, my voice eerily calm. Calvin Gu. You took out a $20 million loan in the company's name, and transferred it to Sophia Sue's account. That money? How do you plan to pay it back? He opened his mouth, but no words came out. And another thing, I continued. Your company's books have been in the red for the past 2 years. You claimed it was profitable to investors. What do you call that? Fraud, Serena. He shot to his feet, his face contorted. What the hell do you want? I don't want anything. I stood up, meeting his gaze. I just want you to sign. He stared at me, eyes bloodshot, like a rabid animal. And if I don't? He ground out the words through clenched teeth. Then this evidence. I gestured to the files on the table. Report to the Economic Crime Desk tomorrow. He swayed, almost losing his balance. You. His voice was hoarse. Serena, when did you become so vicious? Vicious? I almost laughed. Tears threatened to fall. Calvin. When you were checking into a hotel with Sophia in your arms, did you consider vicious when you sent her? To flaunt it in my face, did you ever consider what vicious was? His face completely collapsed. That night, after coming back from the hotel, I spent 3 days digging up everything on Sophia Sue. Turns out, she wasn't just with Calvin. She was carrying his child. 3 months along. Her social media posts about her awful husband. They were all just a ploy to get Calvin's sympathy. She even came to my house once, on purpose, with her belly showing. Pretended to feel sick in front of me, covering her mouth. She looked innocent, blamed something she ate. I was concerned. I told her to go see a doctor. Looking back now, she was probably just waiting to see me make a fool of myself. Calvin stood across from me, looking like he was drained, sinking back onto the couch. Head bowed, silent for a long time. Serena, his voice was low. Are you really going to do this? Sign, you walk away with 50 grand. Start over. Don't sign, and I hand this over. You'll go to jail and still owe 2 million. I looked at him and said, word by word, your choice. His hand trembled. He picked up the pen but couldn't sign. One condition, keep Sophia out of this. The baby she's carrying is innocent. I was stunned for a second, then laughed. Calvin, you still protect her? She has nothing to do with it. He sounded desperate. She didn't know about the loans. I did it all myself. Oh, really? I pulled another file from my bag and tossed it in front of him. This is Sophia's bank statements for the last 2 years. The money you transferred to her adds up to over 10 million. She used it to buy a house back in her hometown. In her mother's name. And you say she didn't know? Calvin stared, shocked then despairing. His voice was dry and raspy, like sandpaper. She lied to me. I said nothing. Finally, he picked up the pen. He signed the agreement. After the last stroke, he collapsed into the sofa, like a fish thrown onto the shore. I picked up the agreement, glanced it over to confirm it was correct. 3 days to move out. I stood up, grabbed my purse. Leave the keys with the doorman. Serena. His voice, soft, stopped me from behind. Did you ever love me? I paused, but didn't turn around. I did. But you destroyed it yourself. I walked out the door. I didn't look back. The sound of his muffled sobs followed me. Like something precious shattering. The divorce went through quickly. Calvin was surprisingly cooperative. Probably terrified I'd actually hand over those documents. He moved out everything. He even left the Porsche keys at the doorman. The car was spotless. Not even a parking ticket left behind. Mrs. Wong begged for forgiveness, crying. Saying Calvin was tricked by Sophia Sue, that he was bewitched. The last time, I had security escort her out. Tina Gu came once too. But not to plead for him. She came for the apartment. The apartment she lives in was a gift from me. You can't take it back just because you're divorced. I had my lawyer send her a letter, informing her the property deed was under the Shin Group. If she didn't vacate, we'd proceed legally. She called me a vicious shrew and moved out that same day. Vicious shrew. I smiled. The title actually suited me. The first month after the divorce, I returned to the Shin Group, resuming my role as vice president. The looks from people in the company were strange. Pity. Schadenfreude. Respect. I ignored them. Did what needed to be done. In less than 2 weeks, I'd cleaned up the mess Calvin left behind. I paid off that 20 million loan for him. Not out of softness. Because that loan was taken out in the company's name. If he defaulted, the bank would seize the company. I can't lose Dad's legacy. Be tarnished by that scum. As for Sophia Sue, I did nothing. Not out of magnanimity. Because I knew I didn't need to lift a finger. She'd destroy herself. Sure enough, less than a month after the divorce, Sophia Sue showed up making a scene. I happened to be in a meeting. Reception called. A woman downstairs demanding to see me. Claiming to be Mrs. Gu. I paused, then realized it was Sophia Sue. Send her up. I closed my folder. Meeting adjourned for 10 minutes, I told the room. When Sophia Sue walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. It's only been a month, but she looks like she's aged 10 years. No makeup, eyes swollen like walnuts. Her belly is slightly rounded now. wearing a wrinkled, shapeless dress. A far cry from the polished, radiant Sophia Su she used to be. Like two different people. Seeing me, her eyes instantly redden. She drops to her knees. Serena, please, let Calvin go. I sit in my chair, watching her, silent. Kneeling, she cries. He divorced me, doesn't want me or the baby. He says it's all my fault he lost everything. He has nothing left now, not even his job. He's breaking down. I sip my tea. Still, I say nothing. Serena, I know I was wrong. Sobbing, she gasps. I shouldn't have seduced him, ruined your marriage. Please, help him, he's starving. He's sleeping on a friend's couch. I finally speak. Sophia Su. Did Calvin send you to me? She shakes her head. No. I came alone. He knows nothing. Then, I set my cup down. The child you're carrying. Is it really his? Her face instantly pales. What do you mean? Her voice trembles. I open my phone, pull up a document, and hand it to her. Your medical report from last year. I checked. Before you got pregnant, you had a procedure, right? She stares at the report, her whole body shaking. What kind of procedure was it? My voice is calm, measured. Her lips quiver. She can't form a single word. You don't have to say it. I'll say it for you. I take my phone. Last year, you had tubal surgery. A prior infection blocked them. Natural conception was very difficult. Your doctor was your husband's cousin. She turns pale. This child is your husband's, not Calvin Gu's. I look at her clearly. You let Calvin think it was his, to bind him, right? She collapses on the floor, trembling uncontrollably. Serena, how did you know? Her voice is a faint whisper. I know more than just that. I stand up, looking down at her. I know your husband was in on it. You too. One seduces, the other blackmails. Quite the team. Her eyes widen in shock. Her lips move soundlessly. Did your husband tell you? As long as you got money from Calvin Gu, it was fine? She collapsed on the floor, trembling all over. Shinshi, how did you know? Her voice was tiny. I know more than that. I stand up. Looking down at her. I also know. Your husband knew all along. You too. One seduces, the other blackmails. Quite the team. Her eyes widened in shock. Lips trembling, unable to speak. Did your husband tell you? As long as you get money from Gu Tingchen, he'll divorce you, then you two run off with the money. I looked at her. And what happened? The money's all gone, Calvin is broke, and your husband just turned his back on you. She broke down, collapsing in hysterical sobs. I watched her, and I felt not a shred of pity. Not because I'm heartless, but because this person has been scheming against me from the very start. Back in college, she befriended me because my family was rich. When she got married, she came to me for a loan. Because her husband's family was poor, she seduced Calvin. Because he was my husband, she calculated every single move. She only miscalculated one thing. I'm not a fool, Sophia. My voice was calm. Get out. Whatever's between you and Calvin has nothing to do with me. Whether your husband wants you back is your own problem. But remember this, from now on. Don't you ever come looking for me again. She looked up. Tear-streaked, she stared. Serena, don't you hate me? I thought for a moment, then shook my head. Hate you? I laughed. You're not worth it. Her face crumpled. Her last strength gone. I pressed the intercom. Security. Escort Ms. Su out. The security guards came up quickly. They helped her to her feet. As she was leaving, she looked back at me over her shoulder. There was something strange in her eyes. Not hatred. And not resentment. Just a complicated, indescribable mess. Serena, she stood at the doorway, her voice soft. You're more dangerous than I imagined. I smiled. So are you. She paused, then shook her head with a bitter laugh. I followed the guards out. Alone by the window. Watching the traffic below, feeling completely at peace. Truth is, I knew. Sophia didn't come to me today. Because of Calvin. She was testing me. Trying to see if I knew her dirty little secrets. When she realized I'd uncovered everything, she gave up completely. Her kind fears being seen through, not cursed. 3 months after the divorce, I got a message. It was from Calvin. Serena. I know you look down on me now, but I still want to say it. I'm sorry. I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted it. No reply. No block. Just deleted. Some people aren't worth a single second of your hatred. 6 months after the divorce, Shin Group's market value doubled. A project I spearheaded captured the entire Southeast Asian market. The profit for just the first quarter, 800 million. At the celebration party, someone asked me, Miss Shin, do you still believe in love? I held my glass, thought about it, and smiled. Of course, I said. But I believe in myself more. Everyone laughed. That night, I drove home alone. I passed the villa Calvin and I used to live in. The lights were off. The yard was weed-choked, long abandoned. I stopped at the gate for 10 seconds, then drove off. A year post-divorce, I met someone at a gala. Jake Jeong. Not breathtaking at first glance, but easy on the eyes. Over 6 feet tall, wearing a deep blue suit. When he smiled, his eyes crinkled, like crescent moons. Jeong Group's chairman, 2 years older, divorced. No kids. We chatted for a bit, exchanged business cards. We parted. On the way back, my assistant Xiaohe asked, Serena, what did you think of Mr. Jeong? I thought about it. He seemed nice. That's it. Xiaohe gave me a gossipy look. And? I shot her a look. What, you think I'm some kind of person? Turns lovesick after divorce? She stuck out her tongue, not daring to ask more. But fate, that's a funny thing. After that, almost every time I attended an event, I'd run into Jake Jeong, and every time, he'd come over to say hi. A few words. Not too many, not too few. Just right. Once, we bumped into each other at a restaurant. He was eating alone in a corner. I was with my dad. He saw me, came over to say hello, and even chatted with my dad for a minute. After he left, my dad glanced at me. This Jake Jeong. He's not bad. Dad, I sighed, are you starting again? I'm not pushing you, Dad said, serious. I just think you could try getting to know him. This guy. He's different from Calvin Gu. I paused. How? Calvin Gu, he was after your family's money. My dad said. Jake Jeong looks at you, he sees you. I stayed quiet, but felt a stir. A year and a half later, Jake Jeong and I started officially dating. Not love at first sight. No grand passion. A slow, gradual closeness. A slow falling into like. He wasn't in a rush to confess. Wasn't in a rush to define the relationship. He just naturally appeared in my life. When I worked late, he'd have a late-night snack sent over. When I traveled for work, he'd text to remind me to check the weather. When I was sick, he'd drive an hour just to bring me a bowl of congee. Once, I asked him, why are you so good to me? He thought for a moment. Because you deserve it. Just that simple sentence. I almost cried. Not because I was touched. Because it made me think of Calvin Gu. That man, he'd never say, you deserve it. He'd only say, can't you, you should, you can't? Jake knew about me and Calvin. But he never brought it up. Once, I accidentally mentioned that marriage. He just listened quietly. Then said, that was his loss. I laughed. How do you know it wasn't my fault? He laughed too. Looked at me, dead serious. Because you're that good. Look me in the eyes and say it seriously, because you're so good. Whoever left you, it's their loss. In that moment, I suddenly felt. So this is what it feels like to be truly cherished. 2 years after the divorce, Jake Jeong and I got engaged. We didn't have a big, splashy ceremony. Just a meal with both sets of parents, and we exchanged rings. The engagement ring he gave me. It wasn't some giant, gaudy rock. It was a simple band. Inside, it was engraved with 2 words, worth it. When I saw those words, I finally couldn't hold back the tears. What's wrong? He asked, flustered. Don't you like it? No. I wiped my tears and smiled. I love it too much. He breathed a sigh of relief and pulled me into his arms. His chin rested on my head, his voice soft. Serena. I'll walk the road ahead with you. I buried my face in his chest. listening to his steady heartbeat, and suddenly felt safe. Not because he's rich. Not because he's good to me. But because with him, I can just be me. No masks. No people pleasing. No walking on eggshells. 3 years after the divorce, we had a daughter. We call her Candy. Jake chose her full name, Joy Jeong. Joy. For the peace you've given me. Ever since I met you, my life has settled into a beautiful calm. Holding our daughter, I watched him fumble with the bottle. I couldn't help but laugh. What's so funny? He said, mock serious. It's my first time being a dad. I'm still learning the ropes. I'm not laughing at you, I said. I'm laughing because I'm happy. He paused, then came over, cradling our daughter with one arm. He pulled me close with the other and kissed my forehead. Me too. That night, after our daughter fell asleep, I sat alone on the balcony, looking at the star-filled sky. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Serena, heard you had a daughter. Congratulations. I know I have no right to say this, but I wanted to. I wasn't good enough. I wish you happiness. But I recognized the number. Calvin Gu. Then, I just smiled, and deleted the message. And blocked the number for good measure. Not out of hatred. Not out of resentment. Just, there's no need for any connection. For the people who hurt you, the best revenge isn't making sure they suffer. To ensure your life is 1,000 times better than theirs. I took a sip of water, set the glass down, and went back inside. Jake was already asleep. One arm was draped over our daughter's crib. As if protecting her even in his dreams. I lay down beside him. Closed my eyes, a smile on my lips. Serena, you finally found the right one. The next morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through the curtains, warm and bright. Jake was already up. The sound of eggs sizzling came from the kitchen. Our daughter was babbling happily in her crib. She kicked her tiny limbs. I checked on our daughter, then to the kitchen. Morning. Jake Jeong glanced back at me. How do you want your eggs? Over medium. I walked over and hugged him from behind. I pressed my face against his back. Why are you up so early? Making breakfast for my girls, he smiled. It's the weekend. Let's drive to the countryside. Okay, I smiled. Whatever you say. The sunlight outside grew brighter, shining on the kitchen tiles, reflecting a warm glow. I stood behind him, holding him, listening to the sizzle of oil in the pan. Suddenly, I felt, this is the life I wanted. Not some grand, dramatic story. Not unimaginable wealth, but having someone who's willing to get up early every day to make you eggs. Who wants to watch the sunrise and sunset with you? Who'll hold you when you're hurt? And all those people who hurt me. Those days that felt like pure agony, they're in the past now. It's not that I've forgiven them. I've chosen to let go of it all. After all, the best revenge in this world is living better than anyone else. And me? I've done it.